Hello friends. Tax deduction at source. This is also known as tax withholding in several countries. This is a very vast subject. So in this video, let me give you a small introduction to this subject. First, generally the term TDS is referred to. Now what is the meaning of this? This stands for tax deduction at source. The question may come, why do we need TDS at all? TDS serves two purposes. One, for the government, it gets its revenue at an early date. Otherwise, in the normal course, it should have waited till the taxpayer computes his income and files his return of income. As far as the taxpayer is concerned, whenever he gets an income, taxes are deducted. So as he earns, he pays the tax. Later on, if he waits to file the return, there's a possibility that he may not have any money left with him to pay the taxes. To overcome this difficulty, this concept of TDS is born. Always TDS has to be made by the person who is responsible for making the payment, like say an employer who is responsible for paying the salary has to deduct the tax at source. In income tax parlance, two terms are commonly referred to, a deductor and deductee. Person who deducts the tax at source is called as a deductor, and the person on whose behalf taxes are being deducted is called the deductee. It is a duty of the deductor to deduct taxes whenever payments are made. Let us examine what are the duties of the deductor. First and foremost, deductor has to obtain what is called as tax deduction account number or TAN. This is a 10-digit alphanumeric number issued by the income tax department. The deductor has to ensure that TAN is quoted in all correspondence with the department and also all the returns or statements filed with the department. The deductor must also ensure that he obtains correct PAN or permanent account number of the deductee and quotes it in the relevant portions. In case the PAN is quoted wrongly, the possibility of the deductee not getting the tax credit are always there. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the deductor to ensure the PAN is quoted correctly. The deductor also has to apply the correct rate of deduction. That means, see, under Income Tax Act, there are a number of sections which require a person to deduct taxes at source. Now, the rates on which tax have to be deducted vary from section to section. Therefore, the deductor has to be very careful as to the correct rate of deduction to be made. Once a deduction is made, it has the taxes deducted have to be paid to the government account within the due date. The deductor also has to use correct form of challan, which is challan number 281. Later on, the deductor has to file various returns within the respective due dates. Finally, it is also the responsibility of the deductor to issue a TDS certificate to the deductee so that the deductee can claim the benefit of credit for the taxes deducted at source. Now, what happens if there is any default on the part of the deductor? What are the consequences of any default? The default could be either not deducting the tax at all. Okay. So in that case, if the deductor is a businessman, for him, the relevant expenditure would get disallowed in the computation of his income. And for others, including the businessman and all others, the consequences could be penal in nature, like there could be interest levied and penalty levied and also prosecution launched by the government. Any default in filing the return, either not filing the return or any mistakes committed in the return, etc., affects the deductee also because he will not get his credit for the taxes deducted at source. When a deductor is deemed to be in default, okay, Under the following circumstances, it is deemed that the deductor is at default. 1. Tax is not deducted either in full or in part. Now, for example, any section says that the taxes have to be deducted at the rate of 10%. But the deductor, instead of deducting the taxes at 10%, deducts only at 5%. So this is a tax not deducted in full. So when taxes are not deducted at all, or when it is deducted in part, then deducted but not paid to the government account. The deductor deducts the tax on payment but keeps it with himself. He will not remit it to the government. Or non-filing of statements or any returns, etc. Okay. Or even failure to obtain or quote the TAN in his correspondence. So all this circumstances, the deductor is deemed to be in default and penal consequences may follow. But under certain circumstances, when the deductee discharges his duties, the deductor will not be deemed to be in default and he may escape the penal consequences. So let us see what are the duties of the deductee. Now first, the deductee must file the return of income within the due dates. Okay, whatever the respective due dates applicable to him, he has to file the return of income. And he has to declare the income on which taxes have been deducted in this return. So he has to file a return and declare the relevant income and pay all the taxes on such income. So if the deductee follows these conditions, then the deductor escapes from the penal consequences. Yes friends, that's what I had in this video. In case you have any queries, please leave a comment. Thank you.